Here's how it happened. At exactly 9:03 a.m. Friday morning, the world woke up to a diplomatic earthquake. Karma's year-old Clean Power Alliance got zero takers at COP30. Not one, not a single world leader. France, Germany, Canada, Japan, not even Ireland was willing to sign up for Starmer's signature project. Within hours, Downing Street was in open panic. The Financial Times, The Times, and even eco-friendly outlets quietly confirmed not a single nation had joined. But here's where it really explodes. What just took place isn't merely an embarrassment at a summit. It's a brutal public humiliation for Britain and a warning siren for every British family watching. Hit subscribe now because you're about to witness just how close we came to a diplomatic implosion that could cost the UK billions, jobs, and maybe Starmer's leadership itself. So what just happened, and how did it implode so spectacularly? Picture the scene. COP30, Brazil. 10,000 top officials, cameras flashing, anticipation at peak fever. Starmer steps onto the main stage, his aides promising historic momentum behind closed doors. Yet as he speaks of global collective ambition, GB News, Zappin' 17, the truth unravels live on screen. World leaders look away. U.S. officials check their phones. The camera catches German and French delegates exchanging looks, mouths tight. One Whitehall insider described it as the loneliest speech of the summit. By midday, sources inside the Foreign Office confirmed frantic calls. Can we get at least one commitment? Anyone? Not one. Zero nations signed. Even former allies kept their distance. Westminster staffers, some in tears, were overheard whispering, "We just hung the Prime Minister out to dry in front of the world." And as the GB News anchor said minutes after the speech, the silence in that room spoke louder than any official statement ever could. But the real shocker isn't just the empty alliance, it's the ripple effect. Because behind the scenes, Starmer wasn't just left alone, he was actively abandoned. According to leaked chats reviewed by Order, Whitehall strategists pleaded with US and EU envoys until 2 a.m. For the sake of global unity, please sign the declaration. The official response? No appetite, not this year. By 4 p.m. Friday, global press were already running with headlines like Britain isolated and Starmer's vanity project doomed. According to polling leaked this morning, 68% of Britons say the flop has weakened the UK's negotiating power on climate, trade, and security. Markets reacted instantly. The pound dipped 0.8% against the dollar. The FTSE slid 1.2%. Pension funds tracking UK assets lost almost £1.9 billion in value. Margaret, a 73-year-old nurse from Kent, summed up the public mood best. We're paying the price for politicians who want headlines, not results. But here's what most people aren't being told. Inside Downing Street, panic quickly turned into a blame game. According to senior sources, a furious row broke out at 1:13 p.m. inside the government's COP30 war room. Emails began circulating, searching for a scapegoat. One advisor, in a message leaked to this channel, wrote, "We warned him, Starmer. The Americans weren't coming on board, but he insisted it would be a win." At the same time, rebel MPs from Labour's own Green Caucus began firing off texts to journalists. This is a total failure of leadership. By Friday night, Starmer's team had gone into full lockdown. Phone lines went dead. The press refused comment. All major interviews were cancelled. Multiple sources inside the Labour Party described it as the most demoralizing 36 hours since the campaign began. But wait, because there's another layer to this. Behind the diplomatic meltdown lies a deeper crisis growing by the hour. Conservative rising star Kemi Badenoch went viral on X, torching Starmer's jet-set COP30 trip, saying, "Starmer couldn't even keep his own house in order, let alone lead the world. Starmer couldn't even keep his own allies in the room, let alone sign a single agreement." Kemi Badenoch's post on X ignites instantly. Tory strategists quietly admit the Green policy humiliation is a gift-wrapped campaign weapon. Party polling, seen exclusively by this channel, shows the Tories pulling ahead by 4 points overnight among swing voters who cite international competence as a top issue. British business groups, once sympathetic, issue harsh warnings. Starmer's botched summit sends the worst possible signal to investors. In just 48 hours, several renewable energy stocks linked to government policy lost nearly £900 million in market capitalization. Think about what that means for jobs in the Midlands, the North, and especially Scotland's green sector. And here's where this takes a truly unprecedented turn. According to exclusive senior Westminster sources, multiple Labour MPs are already discussing no-confidence scenarios behind closed doors. One was overheard late last night asking, "Can we really go into an election with this mess hanging over us?" Never before has a British Prime Minister been so comprehensively isolated on the world stage.
By midnight, even Starmer's most loyal advisors admitted there was no easy way out. A leaked WhatsApp message from a senior cabinet official reads, "He promised global leadership. What he's delivered is a diplomatic catastrophe. The pressure now is suffocating, and the clock is ticking." But here's the bombshell you won't hear anywhere else. Everything that's happened so far is just the tip of the iceberg. A secret document circulating inside Whitehall could blow the lid off this entire scandal. It points to a chain of events suggesting not just diplomatic failure, but a direct, potentially catastrophic threat to Britain's economic stability. If you want the truth as it explodes, hit subscribe, because in part 2, the revelations get even worse, and the consequences could reshape British politics for a generation. 3 hours after the COP30 debacle, inside the Cabinet Office's Situation Room, the tension is razor sharp. A leaked memo, marked urgent, lands on the desks of senior officials. Economic consequences of failed alliance, immediate risk assessment required. What unfolds over the next 72 hours will reverberate across Britain's economy, politics, and even its constitutional structure. This isn't just a summit failure. It's a fast-moving threat to the livelihoods of millions. Starmer's PR team scrambles to spin the story, but behind closed doors, insiders say the mood is worse than post-Brexit night. According to financial analysts briefed by the Treasury at 5:40 a.m., the government faces the possibility of a £3.22 billion knock-on loss in the green tech sector alone. And that's just the opening act. But the truth gets darker the closer you look. While mainstream media focuses on speeches, leaked documents reveal a chain reaction. International investors begin pulling out by Saturday morning. 3 of Britain's largest pension funds initiate emergency meetings to reduce exposure to UK green market assets. One board member, speaking off the record, claims, "Our exposure to government-linked renewables is now a liability, not an investment." Members can't afford another government gamble. We're out. Across the country, thousands of ordinary workers, engineers in Manchester, factory hands in Hull, even small business owners in Birmingham, feel the chill as contracts freeze and hiring plans collapse. The pound slips further. By midday, it's down another 0.6%. For millions with savings or pensions tied to UK assets, the anxiety is real, immediate, and growing. Here's what they don't want you to know. The corridors of Westminster are thick with whispers. If these losses spiral, the government may have to trigger an emergency fiscal review. According to sources inside HM Treasury, a draft contingency strategy was circulated at 8:12 a.m. If outflows exceed £4 billion, we may need to consider capital controls. Multiple MPs, including some of Starmer's closest allies, are panicking. One was overheard muttering, "We're losing the room and we're losing the markets. This could end in revolt." In Liverpool, local Labour branches are already fielding furious calls from voters. Has Downing Street totally lost control? Think about what that means for the real world. A pension shortfall in London, cancelled job offers in Newcastle, price rises at supermarket counters. But wait, there's yet another bombshell hidden just beneath the surface. At 11:47 p.m. last night, Westminster reporters received a tip-off from Downing Street. Starmer, aware of the collapse's magnitude, had tried desperately to reach out to U.S. climate envoy John Kerry and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz for a last-minute rescue endorsement. According to diplomatic sources, Kerry politely declined, saying, "Not until broad European support exists." Meanwhile, Scholz's office reportedly went radio silent. By dawn, Starmer was isolated, not just in Brazil, but in every major world capital. The official word, Britain is off the table for climate leadership discussions. Those are words that chill every serious policymaker in Whitehall. Here's where the story takes an absolutely unprecedented turn. Labour's parliamentary ranks, until now tightly held together, begin to fracture in public. 3 shadow ministers brief journalists on internal dissatisfaction with Starmer's COP30 handling. A backbench rebellion begins to brew. One senior Labour MP tells this channel, "If the PM cannot deliver on the world stage, he cannot deliver for Britain. We're not waiting for the next humiliation." Polls released by YouGov at 8 a.m. show Labour approval plunging by 7 points in just 24 hours, with 50% of swing voters now questioning Starmer's ability to defend Britain's international interests. There is talk, for the first time, of a leadership challenge if the alliance fallout infects national security or the economy. But here's the evidence that escalates this from scandal to existential crisis. A confidential Whitehall risk assessment seen exclusively by this channel predicts a potential for government instability if market losses persist into next week. Constitutional lawyers, briefed overnight, warned the collapse could trigger a chain of events not seen since the mid-1970s, a full-scale confidence vote, an emergency budget, and potentially even an early general election. At the center stands Starmer, exposed, isolated, and defeated. His signature initiative discarded by every ally he hoped to inspire. For ordinary Britons, the damage rolls downhill. Market losses deepen, energy prices spike, job prospects stall. The hero of this story is, as always, the British public, demanding answers in the face of global embarrassment. The villain is built not of personal attack, but of evidence and consequence. Starmer's deception, overlooked warnings, and reckless gamble with the nation's standing. And this is where the final revelation lands. At 6:28 a.m., news breaks of an internal Labour committee calling for an urgent review of party leadership and international engagement strategy. One advisor warns, the survival of this government depends on what happens in the next 48 hours. The stakes are never higher. If you want the explosive truth as it continues to unfold, if you care about Britain's future and demand real answers, hit subscribe, because this story is moving into uncharted territory, and only those with eyes to the ground will see what happens next. This is not over.